Let us look at this man that is crying bitterly from the northern part of the country, because according to him, he's complaining that Tinubu is heavily marginalizing the north. I understand that Buhari set stage for all of this. Of course, we understand that under Muhammadu Buhari, there was heavy marginalization against the south, particularly the eastern part of the country. None of the northern leaders, stakeholders, spoke up then. Though this man is saying that he spoke then. But the question is, why is it that he was not noticed? But let me quickly bring you up to speed with respect to what he's saying, because according to him, that Tinubu is risking not getting re-elected in 2027. And he's the former secretary of National Health Insurance Scheme. His name is Professor Usman Yusuf. Let me bring you up to speed with what he said. He said, over 70% of his appointment, talking about Tinubu, are from the southwest. His kingmen are from Lagos. What have they done to deserve that electorally? So, it is political suicide for any politician to alienate his electoral base and expect us to vote for him again. He should come and tell us why he is taking everything to the southwest Lagos. The question here is, like I said, I'm personally not encouraging any area to be marginalized in Nigeria. But let me quickly ask, when Buhari was given appointments and it was lopsided, it was not reflecting the geographical zone, why did the likes of this man not speak up? Because I could remember specifically that when it came to the issue of security, we have about 17, talking about Office of the National Security Advisor to the Office of Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, Director General of DSS. You are talking about 17 positions. Under Buhari, they not took virtually about 14 or 13, leaving just about 3 or 4 for the whole South. So why is it that the likes of this man did not speak up then? Though he claimed that he spoke, but the question is, why is it that he was not reported to have spoken, but now we can clearly hear his voice everywhere? Because I could remember under Muhammadu Buhari, how he specifically said that area that gave him 5% vote will receive 5% attention. Talking about the eastern part of the country, and this is exactly what he did in his 8 years. So the question is, why did this man not raise this issue, and any other person from the north who is complaining now, why did they not raise this issue under Muhammadu Buhari? I did not encourage any area to be marginalized as an individual. But let me quickly give you some update what happened under Buhari, because I could remember vividly that under Buhari we had this massive rail project that ran from Kano to, of course, Niger Republic. Talking about a project that cost 1.96 billion US dollar. And you are talking about 2.9 trillion naira. And up to today, of what economic value is that project to Nigeria? Nobody has been able to tell us what economic value that thing is bringing to Nigeria as Nigerian economy. You equally have a situation where Buhari's government spent a whopping sum of 19 billion US dollar. You are talking about 29 trillion naira to fix our foreign refineries under his watch. And as we speak, none of the refinery is working. It means the money was wasted. You are talking about 19 billion US dollar. And Dangote refinery, understand, it costs about 20 billion US dollar. So we are saying that the equivalent amount of money that was used to build Dangote refinery is what Buhari wasted for 8 years in trying to fix our refineries. That is not working. And nobody is asking question. No northern leader is asking question. So where did the money go to? Because it's not possible that you spend such money, because I understand that expatriates were reportedly, allegedly hired to do the job. So if you give somebody a job, you spend that amount of money, and the person did not achieve the result, will you equally pay the person? We are saying that Dangote refinery is the highest, or rather largest refinery in the whole of Africa. Even his category is the biggest in the whole of the world. Single train refinery. So equivalent of the amount of money a Dangote refinery that built Dangote refinery is what a Buhari's government wasted for 8 years. And nobody's talking. If you even go into waste and miss, and a window through which the Constitution provides for federal government to draw money from CBN to meet areas where they could not meet up with their revenue projection. Talking about the budget. A Buhari's government under 8 years borrowed 30 trillion naira. As we speak, nobody has been able to prove how the money was expended, and all efforts of National Assembly to probe it have been hitting brick wall, and no northern leader stakeholder is asking question, where did the money go to? Like I said, I'm not encouraging anybody to be marginalized or any government to marginalize anyone, but the question is, why is it that when someone from the north is doing it, nobody speaks up? It's like a normal thing. I could remember that under Muhammadu Buhari, when people raised issue of lopsided appointments, the dead government was quick to always cite competence. Because we were wondering then, that doesn't mean you only find competent persons in the northern part of the country. Now, they are now crying, talking about marginalization, talking about electoral value. I will equally go to the area of insecurity that the man cited. But again, before I do that, let us equally look at how a Buhari government failed. Not just Buhari government, almost all the government have equally failed in that area. Talking about to develop our healthcare. Under his watch, we understand that in just 1 year, the overseas medical, this encompasses both individuals and government, the money Nigeria spent for overseas medicals was up to 3.6 billion US dollars. Talking about 5 trillion naira just in 1 year under Buhari's watch. Is that not a monumental failure? Now, the man in question cited issue of insecurity, the inability of Tinubu's government to address insecurity. I totally agree that it behoves on the president, who goes by the name of the president and the commander of the armed forces, who have sworn to an oath to protect lives and property. Because Section 14, Section 2B of 1999 Constitution as amended is very clear that the welfare of the people and their security shall be the primary purpose of governance. So to that extent, it behoves on the president to address insecurity. But the question here is, I'm not saying the president should not address insecurity. The question here is, can we forget in a hurry how Kawu Baraje made it very clear recently that they brought Fulani militias into the country to us a Jonathan out of office? So the question is it not even normal to tell those that brought in those Fulani militias that they have achieved their aim, they should leave? Does it not behave on those who, of course, they are Northern brothers, who brought in Fulani militias according to Kawu Baraje, to tell their brothers to leave the country that they have to achieve their aim? Because for me, I think that's the best way to go. Because even if I know that it behoves on the president to protect lives and property, and I know that in the circumstance they are not keeping quiet, they are doing one or two things, I could clearly see this current approach of federal government talking about directing state governments to start engaging forest guards. And even the president has personally made it clear that the forest guards will be empowered in terms of capacity to combat crime. And this was lacking under Muhammadu Buhari. You can understand that under Muhammadu Buhari, it was not possible for security arrangements at the state levels to be armed. But this time around, the president himself is saying that they will be empowered. So the question I'm asking is, why are states like Zamfara, states like Katsina, Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, for dragging in jumping at this forest guard initiative? Because I want to believe that this has come to give governors some level of security power. Hence, they are the one that will recruit, they are the one that will command and control them into action. Because personally, I've been a very strong advocate that the governors should not just be going by the name of the governors and the chief security officer that represent states on paper. Rather, that they should be given some level of security power to parade. And as we have it, this approach of federal government have come to give them that opportunity. More so, as federal government have even placed an order for about 50 fighter jets. I want to say that's a welcome development, because this is not the best of time for the likes of Shegumi, who for obvious reasons have since been advocating non-kinetic approach to fighting bandits. And someone like Shegumi have failed to realize that the bandits, according to Kawu Balaji, that they brought them into the country. So I think the northern stakeholders, leaders should go and synergize and look at how best to address this from the angle of how they brought them into the country. But as far as I'm concerned, the federal government is already willing and ready to synergize with the states to see an end to all of this. So we build our imagination why we cannot still see some states in the north, particularly those states that are ravaged by banditry, not jumping at this issue of forest guard with speed of light. I want to believe that is the way to go. Because personally, I totally believe that life is sacrosanct and that life must be protected. We only saw with surprise, even recently, how a former House of Assembly member from Borno State will come out clearly to allege that a Jonathan, it's not an allegation anyway, he said it, that a Jonathan was winning the war against Boko Haram before he left office. Because we can remember clearly that at the twilight of Jonathan's administration, precisely during the election, before the election of 2015, how the election was postponed for 2 weeks to enable the then government pushed by Boko Haram. And according to the man in question, the Jonathan government went and brought in missionaries who were leveraging on technology to decimate Boko Haram. And according to him, they were doing fantastic work. They were registering sources. Because according to him, they will come back with evidence of the place they went to bomb before and after bombing. But what did the Buhari government did? He came in and jettisoned the idea, sent the missionaries back in, and today we are still fighting the same insurgents. So that is why and where the North, particularly the leaders, should go back to drawing board and think of how to solve this problem. There's angle of course, the ideological part of it that must still be addressed by northern stakeholders. Because you cannot born a child and allow the child to grow in the wild and the child will now become a problem for everyone. At the end of the day, you are looking for who to blame in terms of the responsibility to fight insecurity that behoves on federal government. And even recently, we have seen a northerner who came out clearly to accuse federal government of the out-of-school children in the north. Because I must say that the level of out-of-school children in the north is at alarming stage. A situation where you can clearly see in some states, we are seeing 60-something%. In some instances, we are seeing 50-something, 40-something, 30-something, as the case may be. And we are talking about children within the age bracket of 6 and 16 years. I must say this is unacceptable. Because you are breeding a potential Boko Haram members, bandits, and terrorist members. Any child born you are allowed to grow in the wild without proper education and parental care is vulnerable to be recruited into banditry and radicalized. Even the notion from those northern stakeholders that federal government is not doing enough, that's why I have out-of-school children in the north. I totally agree that when it comes to universal basic education, the responsibility of training Nigerian child rests with the 3 tiers of government. However, what we for federal government to do is the policy direction. When it comes to building schools, engaging teachers, ensuring that, enforcing that the children are in school, it behoves on the state and local governments. And of course, this issue of funding and policy direction is what the federal government do for all the 36 states, whether in the northern part, in the southern part. So the question is, why is it that we are not seeing as much as out-of-school children in the north? In the north? No, why is it that we are not seeing as much as out-of-school children in the north? Why is it that there is no out-of-school children in the south as we see in the north? So you go to show that there is a failure of leadership in the north. You go to show that the parents, the guidance, the stakeholders have not done their due diligence, have not done their work. Because if you do your work, the children will get the right norms of the society into their brain from the cradle. Because from the psychological point of view, the newly born child, the brain is empty. Of course, a tabula rasa on who the critical rights anything he or she wishes to write. So by the time you refuse or fail to write the norms of society, definitely bandits, Boko Haram, ISWAP members, and salutary organization members will help you to write their own value system. I think it's part of the consequence of what we currently face. And the problem we have currently is that it is already a national issue. It's no longer a regional issue, because the insecurity we started before now here happened in the northern part of the country is already been exported to the southern part of the country, and it's taking its root, getting its root in the southern part of the country. That is why us stakeholders for the southern part of the country must brace up, right to education, before it develops taproot. It must be uprooted and dealt with. I must say very big thank you for your time. This is Satellite Media and I'm Mr. Matu.